Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are looking at the best X570 motherboards under $200. We are throwing in a couple X470 motherboards to see how they stack up against these budget X570 motherboards. And that does not include like $199.99 because that's basically $200. Like 1 cent is not count. I hate to break it to you. So we're basically going over, all the motherboards from about $50 to $90 in the range, and then we've thrown in a $40 and a $60 X470 motherboard to see how those stack up against the other boards. One thing to note with these boards is that we can't test all of them. I wish I could. That would be lovely to get my hands on all of them, and I may be getting my hands on one of them soon at some point, but we can't test for noise levels, drive performance, CPU performance even. But one thing to note is that CPU performance is definitely within margin of error between X470 and X570 if you were considering between the two. We're going to start off with the X570 Phantom Gaming 4 is our first motherboard we're looking at. This is the cheapest X570 motherboard. Comes in at $154. Comes with a M.2 Wi-Fi slot in case you need to add Wi-Fi. It's got dual PCIe 4 M.2s. It's got a 10-phase VRM. It's got pretty good connectivity. It does have some good features, like it's got a pretty beefy heatsink, and it's got reinforced PCIe slots. But it doesn't. Well, it lacks things like USB Type-C that we're accustomed to seeing on most motherboards at this point. Another thing, it also has a quite small fan, which may be allowed, so you definitely want to keep that in mind when looking at this motherboard. Otherwise, it's a pretty basic motherboard, but it does have most of the basic features that you would need to get a budget PC going. So next we're going to go on to the X578 Pro. This is going to have also a 10-phase VRM. One of the good features about this is it has BIOS flashback, so if you need to update the BIOS to say Ryzen 4000, if AMD ends up putting it on AM4, this will have support for that right away. Although, you already have the CPU, so I don't know what the point is, but I guess that's future-proofness for anyone watching this in the future. Got a lot of fan headers, so it should be pretty good for most use cases. But one thing is it does only have a single M.2 4.0 slot, which is quite a bummer. But then again, anyone buying this motherboard shouldn't really need to use that, so I don't really blame them. Alright, on to the next one. The next one is the first of the $170 motherboards. This is the X570 Prime P. Now this motherboard is pretty bare bones. It doesn't have a lot of features, but it does have a pretty good VRM. It does have dual PCIe 4 M.2s, unlike the last one. And about that, it has a pretty good looking design, I would say. But aside from that, it's pretty basic. There's not much features on the board other than the good VRM. On to the next one, we have the X570 Gaming X from Gigabyte. Now this is probably my best value board. Out of all of them, it does not have too much in the way of connectivity on the back. It does not support USB Type-C, but it does have BIOS flashback in case you're watching this in the future. Audio is quite mediocre, but it does have a very good design, which I do like. It has an integrated I/O shield and I/O cover. The heatsinks are not the best heatsinks we've seen, especially from Gigabyte. They are known for their thin heatsinks, but these heatsinks are kind of just chunks of aluminum, no cuts in them or anything, so they may not perform as well, but it does have a good 10+2 phase VRM. And it has the dual M.2s. One of them has a heatsink to cool it off, which is good because the new SSDs do get very hot in case you are using one of those. But otherwise, it's got an ample amount of fan headers, things like that. Got good SATA, and it has two USB 3.0 front headers. So honestly, I think this is probably my favorite choice out of all of the boards, even though I'm pretty partial to ASRock. as I think they have the best quality and good customer support. So we've also got the slightly higher end MPG X570 Gaming Plus from MSI. This is pretty much a beefed up version of the A Pro with a red accent and an M.2 heatsink. Also got a little bit better audio, and it does have, say, USB Type-C and more, but it does not have more USB ports, which is a shame. So yeah, other than that, it's pretty much the same as the A Pro, but yeah, it has it's just a little bit more feature-rich for the X570 Pro 4. This is also more of a beefed-up version of the Phantom Gaming 4. It includes Type-C and an M.2 heatsink. It also includes about the same VRM. It does include a big heatsink as the same, and a sort of white design theme, which you might love or you might hate. But as again, it's pretty much just a beefed up version of the lower end Phantom Gaming 4. So now onto the last X570 board. This is the X570 Tough Gaming Plus. Now this board is definitely the best in the pack, but it comes at a price of $190, whereas most of the other boards are about $170. Now, it may be worth the premium as it has a 12 plus 2 phase VRM, which is the best out of all of the budget boards, so if you're looking to do some overclocking, this is a good board. It also has good support it has a 2 M.2, so we've got an M.2 heatsink, it's got good front panel support, we've got 8 SATA ports, good, yeah, so basically this is your overclocking motherboard if you want it. And I think it has a pretty good design, although I don't like the yellow, but it is probably going to be hidden in most settings. Now, onto the X470 boards. Now, the reason why I'm putting these in there is because they are so much better of an option if you don't need PCIe 4.0. Now, this, the first one we're looking at is X470 Gaming K4. Now, this one has just about the same feature set, same quality as the higher end boards, and it costs only $160, and it probably has about the same feature sets as the $200 X570 mod. So if you don't need PCIe Gen 4, which I don't think a lot of people do, is a really good choice. It has a display or debug sort of output code thing at the bottom. I don't remember exactly what they're called, but it's this 7-segment display, so you can know exactly what's wrong rather than just what part of the computer's wrong. We got M.2 heatsink. It supports SLI, which is something that none of the other ones do. It's got RGB, a lot more RGB than the other ones. It's got really good audio from Creative, and it's just all around a lot better of a board than the other X570 boards, because they don't have to pay for that PCIe 4.0. And did I mention it's silent because it has no fans, which is also a thing that people were really complaining about. People like quiet computers, and those fans could be really loud, so that's another reason to buy it. We've also got the Prime Pro, which is $170, or no, sorry, $140. Oh, I tripped up on myself there. But this motherboard is $140 cheaper than all of them, and has about the same specs as the $180 motherboard. So this is essentially the predecessor to the $250 X570 Prime Pro. So it is definitely a very high quality board. It has the crystal audio. We got Type-C on the back and Type-C on the front, which is a high-end feature you don't see a lot, but you are starting to see on cases a lot. We do have M.2 heatsink. We got a bunch of RGB. We do only have a 10-phase VRM, which is a little bit lackluster, but it is definitely good enough to support all of the Ryzen 3000 CPUs. So honestly, I think this is a really good motherboard to choose from, and so I'm just going to go over again which I think is the best motherboards. I think the Phantom Gaming 4 is the best. Well, if you really want to spend as little money as possible, the Phantom Gaming 4 is definitely not going to be a bad option. But if you really want the best value for money, it's the Prime Pro, which does happen to be the cheapest, but it also has the best features per money, unlike some of the other boards, which, the only feature it's missing is PCIe Gen 4, which you don't really need. Now, the best overall board, I would say, is the Gaming X from Gigabyte. Now, I just think because it has the most amount of feature sets, obviously, you're not going to use all of them. I think it's just about as good as the other ones, but it does have a lot of feature sets. It's got definitely a good, robust looking board. It's got a good design, and it has a very good power design, so I think that makes up for the lesser heat sinks. So I do think this is a very good board that I would definitely buy for myself. And now, obviously, best overclocking is going to be the Tough Game Plus. It's the most expensive, but it has the best VRM setup of all of the boards. So if you want to overclock your, say, 3600 to make it very fast, it'll definitely get you much further than the other boards if you have a good CPU. And yeah, that's about it for my video. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, or if this helped you choose your motherboard, maybe consider leaving a like, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.